Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be learning how to keep your train track totally modular, whether you ballast it or not. I want to start off showing you two base plates that I've already made modular, doing my own version of like a Mills ballasting. This is not a standard ballasting, this was just something I threw together for a quick example. But as you can see, this is fully modular, and the trick to it is simply this. You always have to keep your track 4 studs from the end. Let's start with a simple 32 by 32 base plate, and each base plate takes 2 pieces of track to get totally across it. Something I want to point out is the plate that I already had ballasted up. It's only 1 plate thicker, so to adjust and allow for that change in elevation, I am simply going to ballast one side of it and then press the rest of it just down onto the base plate. This would also be a good time to note that anytime you want to do changes in elevation with train track, you should never do more of an elevation change than 1 plate of thickness for every 16 studs of length. Anyway, now to clearly show you how I'm doing it on the one end, because I have nothing under it at all, so that way you can clearly see it, we are doing 4 studs from the edge of the track. So we're going to take that and push that down onto the base plate. We're going to push down the entire length of that track. And now we're going to spin everything around and do the exact same thing with the other side. Again, we are going to make sure it is 4 studs from the edge of the train track and then push it down the entire length. Now let's spin it back around and let me grab one of those base plates I showed you at the start of the video, and I want to show you that it will connect right up. And it goes seamlessly. Again, the first ballast piece that I did was 1 plate thicker, and we have our little change of elevation because we went from nothing to 1 plate to hook it directly to this. Something else I really quickly want to make note of is you have the 4 studs on either side, but you also have to maintain an 8 stud gap between the tracks as well. Now that we've covered some of the basics though, let's talk about the curved track pieces. Curves are just a little more difficult, and you can clearly see that because an entire curve is the size of a 48 by 48 base plate, which causes a little bit of confusion for a lot of people. The basic same rules still apply though. You want to go 4 studs from the edge of the plate. And I'm showing you this first on a 48 by 48 base plate, and then what we're going to do is we are going to get 3 32 by 32 base plates, and I'm going to show you how you can totally make it modular doing that as well. So you can see it does simply attach on a full curve on a 48 by 48, but now that we've done that, let's get this 48 by 48 base plate out of the way. Let's bring over the ballasted 32 by 32, and let's see how we can keep that fully modular and attach everything together. Scooting the ballasted piece out of the way, we're going to put down the 3 base plates and lay them out in an reverse L-shaped pattern, because we want that curve to come all the way around in the full length of that space. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the curve and just attach it to the outside track. And doing this, it's actually going to cause a problem. And that's why I want to show you by doing this, this is not how it would work. Yes, if you just had a single track, this would work, and then what would end up happening is the track would land on the inside. Mind you, what would happen is it would land on the inside of the last base plate on the inside 4 studs. So if you built the track this way, what essentially you're doing if you have a dual track system, you are preventing it from being modular, because what will happen is as the track goes north and south now, because you've went through a curve, you're going to have 2 base plates that have to put the ballasted Mills whatever train track on them in order to click together. And the goal of keeping the train track fully modular is to keep it on as few plates as possible. So as you can see, this is not the way that it would work, because number 1, the inside track would hit this outside track, but number 2, like I said, we don't want it to end up flowing around to where we have to have multiple pieces just to keep the track modular. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back up, and I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. To keep your track fully modular after you come off of a 2-run plate, the first thing you're going to do is on the outside track, you are going to put a piece of straight. 1 piece is all you need, so it's 1 16 stud piece is going to get placed onto the base plate. Now, to show you how well everything is going to line up, I wanted to add some plates just to hold the base plates together, so that way you get a true effect of how this is really going to work. Okay, we've got our first piece of track at the very front, and now at the very end, we also have to put another 16 stud length of track at that end as well. And I still want to point out again, both pieces of track are 4 studs from the edge of the base plate. Now, with all that in place, we can simply put some plates underneath this last piece of curve, and again, where it will attach at the very end of the other base plate, as you can see, is simply 4 studs. So at the start and ending of this curve, we have the 8 studs in between the tracks, and we have the 4 studs from the edge of both base plates on either side of the base plate. Something worth noting, or at least it's something that I do anyway, it's not required, but I like to tile under all of my curves because I feel like it gives it a much more natural and attractive finished appearance. Now that we've learned how to keep our straights and our curves fully modular throughout our city, what do you do about switch tracks? Believe it or not, they are just as easy as all the other tracks. What it is you have to make a small transition piece to go from your 2-track piece, a transition piece, down to the switch track piece. So just like with every other track piece, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to put 2 plates underneath the bottom side of the switch track just to hold it in place. And we're going to go 4 studs again from the edge of the base plate and attach that into place. Now we have to work on the transition piece. And what we're going to do with that is on the farthest outside portion of the track, we're going to put 2 straight pieces all the way across. And then on the top piece, we're only going to put 1 straight piece. So I'm just putting a couple plates on there just to give you the idea of where we would have our ballasting placed at before we put the tracks on it, even though we're not really talking a lot about ballasting in this video. Now that we have that little bit of ballasting done though, we're going to place again the single track at the top. We're going to put 2 pieces of track at the bottom, push everything down into place, and then we got to get 1 little curve piece. And that little curve piece in this transition piece is what's going to connect us over to the switch track. So once you have these pieces made like this, you just snap the first piece into the second. And now we take our switch track and snap it into our transition piece. And we have a fully modular section of track using the switch track. Now, I didn't talk about ballasting in this video, but if you want to learn some awesome ballasting, and they are free downloadable instructions, I highly recommend you check out the Pin Lug website, and there will be a link below in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, guys.